Currently, it's about 63, 64 degrees here at the campus of Florissant Valley Community College. I'm Jell with your noon news update. St. Louis County voters will see over a dozen amendments and propositions on the ballot today. They include Proposition Z, which is a sales tax increase to fund the care of animals at St. Louis Zoo facilities. If passed, Prop Z would increase sales tax in St. Louis County 1/8 of 1%. A firefighter at Scott Air Force Base is facing child porn charges. Prosecutors say Jace Fogno sent graphic videos of a man having sex with a girl to undercover agents on September 30th and October 5th through the messaging app Kik. The FBI then traced the IP address to a computer at a fire station at Scott Air Base near Belleville. Fogno later admitted to sending the porn and to having discussions about the possibility of having sex with underage girls. Authorities are looking for the robber who attacked a man with a hammer at his St. Louis retirement home over the weekend. Police say the victim told officers he had invited a woman to his apartment at Ladder Glory Manor Saturday night. A man who accompanied the woman hit the victim with a hammer before taking his wallet and running off with the woman. The victim was hospitalized with a cut and other wounds to his head and face. A Chesterfield man is accused of offering a teenage girl a vaping device in exchange for sex. Anthony Simmons was charged yesterday with 1 count of statutory sodomy. Police say Simmons met a 15-year-old girl over the weekend in a parking lot near Olive Boulevard and Highway 141. He then offered to buy her a Juul vaping device in exchange for a sex act. And St. Louis is suing major drug companies linked to opiate production. The city filed this lawsuit yesterday, joining governments around the country, that are seeking compensation for millions of dollars spent each year dealing with addiction. The suit claims drug manufacturers knew that thousands of patients would become addicted to their product and that large amounts of the drug would be sold illegally. As for the weather, today there is a high of 66, low of 49, with a few showers here and there. Tomorrow it will be partly cloudy, a high of 63, low of 45. Thursday, sunny, high of 57, low of 44. Friday, rainy, high of 54, low of 41. And Saturday, get a coat. It will be partly cloudy with a high of 46, low of 31. Currently, it is about 64, 65 degrees here on the campus of Florissant Valley Community College. I'm your host, Jell, and this has been your noon news update. But please stay tuned, because after a short break, we will be back with GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. We like to kick the show off with the new game releases for this week and next week, what anime are currently coming to theaters, and then we go on with all sorts of crazy video game news and information, so please stay tuned for that. But until then, here is Fallen Angel by Facing Infamy, here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening. That was Coffin Eyes by Tear Out the Heart, here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and welcome to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. Though if you ever miss a show, you can look us up on YouTube. Just look up the GameBabble Live archives. That's GameBabble, all one word. Otherwise, you find two guys named Phil and Rick, and I have no clue who they are. Apparently, they have GameBabble with a space. Anyway, we'd like to kick the show off with the new game releases for this week, what's coming out next week, and what anime are in theaters. So, we always kick things off with the PlayStation 4 this week. We have Skytime, Ark Survival Evolved Extinction, Carnival Games, Deracine, which is the new PlayStation VR game by From Software, makers of the Dark Souls series. Except this one you play like a fairy that exists in a world frozen in time, trying to make friends with people who live in the world where time actually progresses at a boarding house? Then there's Grip Combat Racing, Jagged Alliance Rage, Nekopara Volume 1, which I would definitely not recommend the PlayStation 4 release if you are following the current story involving Sony's new policies. Yes, the PS4 version is double censored. I mean, I know that the version on, like, Switch and stuff is obviously not as lewd as the uncensored, the PC one after you get the uncensored patch, but the PS4 one, of course, is double censored because Sony has implemented new policies that are requiring large swaths of games to be drastically censored. So get it on Switch. Moving on, Omen of Sorrow is out, followed by Road Redemption, which, if I recall correctly, that should be a kickstarted successor to Road Rash. Star Bear Taxi, Swords and Soldiers 2, Siren, The Forest, The Shape-Shifting Detective, The Walking Dead, the Telltale series, the final season, likely no longer handled by Telltale, but rather by the Slime Rancher devs. Transpose, World of Final Fantasy Maxima, and then we have Steel Rats and To the Top, followed by Ride 3, Timber Tennis Versus, and then on Friday, 11/11 Memories Retold, Battle Chef Brigade, Hitman 2, Moonlighter, Noir Chronicles, City of Crime, Rabby Ribby, and The Tetris Effect, which is a very fancy, hypnotic version of Tetris that also supports PlayStation VR, but does not require it. Moving on, Nintendo... Actually, no, Xbox One comes next. Xbox One has Ark Survival Evolved Extinction, Brawlhalla, Carnival Games, Grip Combat Racing, Jagged Alliance Rage, The Shape-Shifting Detective, World of Final Fantasy Maxima, Agents vs. Villains, Doodle God, Crime City, Ride 3, 11/11 Memories Retold, Chasm, let's see, Hitman 2 Gold Edition, Mechanica, Noir Chronicles, City of Crime, and Stick Type. Nintendo Switch, meanwhile, gets Moonlighter, Skytime, Brawlhalla, Carnival Games for Nintendo Switch, Full Metal Furies, Grip Combat Racing, Minecraft Story Mode Season 2, the Telltale series, Rogue Legacy, Shadow of Loot Box, The Shape-Shifting Detective, World of Final Fantasy Maxima, Crypto Game, Nintendo Switch Edition, Daru, The Art of Cooperation, Astabreed, Battlezone Gold Edition, Crashlands, Johnny Turbo's Arcade Breakthrough, and perhaps most importantly and excitingly, Johnny Turbo's Arcade Night Slashers. That should have been released for Halloween. Night Slashers is a quite beloved side-scrolling beat-em-up with a horror theme and lots of cheese and gore. A lot of people love it. Never got a home port until now. I guess we're probably hoping that this is the goriest version. I do not know if it is, but fingers crossed. Following that, Mechanica, Mercenary Wings, The False Phoenix, Picture Painting Puzzle 1000, Rage in Peace, Skyforce Anniversary, Siberia 1 and 2, The Bug Butcher, The Walking Vegetables Radical Edition, Timber Tennis Versus, Valiant Hearts, The Great War, Varian, Battle Chef Brigade, Collide-A-Lot, Forgotten Anne, Moonlighter, Noir Chronicles, City of Crime, Saboteur, and Townsmen. Meanwhile, the 3DS gets Cube Creator DX, and the Vita gets Slayaway Camp Butcher's Cut and Rabby Ribby. Moving on to next week. Next week, the PS4 is getting Aces of the Luftwaffe Squadron Nebelgeschwader. I'm going to say I pronounced that right. I probably didn't, but I'm going to say I did. Chimp Party, Fortnite Deep Freeze Bundle, Hitman 2, Just Deal With It, Knowledge is Power Decades, My Riding Stables, Life with Horses, Project High Rise Architect Edition, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, The Forge, Spyro Reignited Trilogy, and a double pack of the Spyro Reignited Trilogy and Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. Fingers crossed the games are actually on the disc now. No guarantees, though. The Golf Club 2019 featuring PGA Tour. The Sims 4 Seasons. Word Hunters. Fallout 76. Oh, wow, already? Melbit's World. My Hero One's Justice is getting the playable character Inasa Yorashi released. And then YouTuber's Life OMG Edition. Battlefield 5 Deluxe Edition. SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy is getting Miss X. And then on the, that about sums it up. I mean, I don't know where to put Sunday, but Trailblazers comes out on Sunday for some reason. Anyway, moving on to Xbox One, we've got Aces of the Luftwaffe Squadron Nebelgeschwader, Fortnite Deep Freeze Bundle, Hitman 2, Project High Rise Architects Edition, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, The Forge, Spyro Reignited Trilogy, and the double pack with Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, The Golf Club 2019 featuring PGA Tour, Fallout 76, My Hero 1's Justice playable character Inasa Yorashi, YouTuber's Life OMG Edition, and Battlefield 5 Deluxe Edition. The Switch next week is looking at getting Aces of the Luftwaffe Squadron Nebelgeschwader, Fortnite, My Riding Stables, Life with Horses, Project High Rise Architects Edition, SNK 40th Anniversary Collection, Limited Edition, My Hero 1 Justice playable character Inasa Yorashi, YouTuber's Life OMG Edition. Then it's that's a name that tells me nothing. I like it. On the 15th, the Switch is getting Geshizu Gaji Gaji Nakama wo Sodateo. The heck is that? Game FAQs is listing it as a virtual pet. Let's do a quick Google search. That is a cute hamster and mouse raising game. That is certainly a virtual pet game for your Switch with cute hamsters and mice and being very Japanese, as you can tell from its name, Geshizu Gaji Gaji Nakama wo Sodateo. Anyway, after that we've got Hopiko, Mother Russia Bleeds, SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy Miss X character is being released, Solitaire Battle Royale. Solitaire Battle Royale. Oh, please tell me this is a joke. No, it is instead very Japanese. There's a cute girl and a cute pink puppy thing with a crown in the picture. Well, everything's got to be Battle Royale these days, even Solitaire. How does that work? If you're just fighting until only one's left, then how would you win? You always win in Solitaire Battle Royale. There is a link on the Nintendo website. I need information. Hang on. Okay. We have multiple sheets, I guess, of different preset Solitaire puzzles. There is some sort of versus Solitaire mode, which would make the name some kind of a lie. Challenges like clearing within 100 seconds. Okay. Solitaire Battle Royale, that's a thing. I am amused. Moving on. Trailblazers, Circle of Sumo, Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu are next week. And Sid Meier's Civilization 6. Lots of sounds. And then Trailblazers. And oh, egad, week after next is Bendy and the Ink Machine. Wonderful. I have a friend who will be very happy about that. By that, I mean he won't be. And 3DS and Vita have nothing coming next week. Moving on, anime in theaters. Liz and the Blue Bird will be in theaters November 9th through the 13th. So that's a thing. Certainly a new one. It's about a bunch of high schoolers trying to get like a concert together. I'm sure plenty of drama happens. There's always more to it than just that, you know? Laputa, Castle in the Sky will be in theaters November 18th, dubbed, November 19th, subbed, and November 20th, dubbed. Which, if you've never seen that movie, I highly recommend it just because pretty much the entire JRPG genre and most Japanese video games are at least in some way loosely based on that movie. Just watch it. Just watch it and tell me if you're not surprised when Robotnik just randomly shows up out of nowhere and you're like, why is Robotnik there? What do you have to do? What, Robotnik, why are you on the plane with, like, old lady Aika? That doesn't make any sense, but it does. Moving on, Pokemon the movie, The Power of Us, which is a new Pokemon movie set in that new Pokemon movie universe, will be in theaters November 24th, 26th, 28th, and December 1st, all dubbed. And then, that about covers it. Does not say if Listen the Bluebird is dubbed or subbed, but either way, that sums it up for the new game releases for this week. what's coming out next week, and what anime are in theaters. So you know what that means. It's time for us to take a little break. And then when we come back, we will begin with the video game news. Obviously, we will be covering the hilarious debacle, well, hilarious to me, known as Diablo Immortal. I will give you some of my thoughts on MapleStory 2. I finally spent at least a little bit more time with that game. Not as much as I would have liked. And plenty more after that. But until then, here is Glow by Jew the Czar, here on 89.5 FM, KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening, and please stay tuned for more GameBabble Live. That was Get That Knowledge by Kenny Boy, here on 89.5 FM, KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. And welcome back. Sorry, I just had someone run into the studio wondering what the heck that was. It was Get That Knowledge by Kenny Boy. Could have waited until I announced the song. Anyway, welcome back to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. I'm your host, Jel. And, so, before the break, we, of course, did our new game releases for this week, what's coming out next week, what anime are in theaters, meaning it is now time for us to get on with the video game news. And there's two interesting pieces hot off the presses. First of all, Nintendo is collaborating with Bandai to make an Eevee Tamagotchi. No joke, that's happening. And thus far, this is as close as we've come to a Pokemon-Digimon crossover. This close! Either way, Eevee Tamagotchi. I know a lot of people who will be happy about that. And, but what I'm happy about is new Dragon Quest Monsters news. Ah, yes, now there's a series that doesn't get nearly enough love. Dragon Quest Monsters is a fantastic monster training game. And they just announced that they are releasing one on cell phones, which is a remake of the first game. I think it might just be a port of the 3DS game, because they did a 3DS they did a 3DS remake. It was either DS or 3DS. I'm not sure which. But they did do a remake of the original Dragon Quest Monsters a while ago, and now they are releasing one on cell phones. Let me take a look at this. Yeah, this looks like a 3DS game. It's, okay, yeah, no, that is exactly a straight port of a 3DS game, because you hold your phone vertically and it has a top screen and a bottom screen. So I'm pretty sure that's just a straight port of the 3DS game for cell phones. That's, not the worst thing in the world. And then they have announced, though, that they are working on a new Dragon Quest Monsters game for consoles, which will feature Dragon Quest XI's Eric and his sister Mia as kids, which is sort of a tradition for the Dragon Quest Monsters series. This makes me very excited because there aren't a lot of... Honestly, none of the console Dragon Quest Monsters ever made it to America, and they're pretty uncommon to see on consoles, but this makes sense. I think it would be safe to assume that if this is a quote-unquote console Dragon Quest Monsters, that it's probably coming to Switch, since the series is mostly portable. There'll probably be a PS4 release anyway. I mean, that's my bet. That is what I'm betting on. They haven't said anything, but I'm going to say PS4 and Switch. And I am very excited to actually play it. No guarantees if it'll get a US release. We've missed out on the majority of the Dragon Quest Monsters series, but they release this one in the States, I would be absolutely in. And as someone in the comments over on Silicone Era commented, there it is, a mobile game and a console game announcement. See, it's possible to make everyone happy. They are, of course, referencing the Diablo Immortal announcement. Oh, buddy, is that a debacle. So, if you are unfamiliar, BlizzCon just went down, which is the big convention for Blizzard games, and all the fans of Blizzard, makers of Warcraft, StarCraft, Diablo, and Overwatch, among other things. A lot of people pay very large sums of money to go down there. It is a big fan event. It is not for the press. It is not for the shareholders. It is for the fans. And there had been talk of a new Diablo game in development over at Blizzard. So a lot of people were really excited. They didn't know if it was going to be Diablo 4 or Diablo 2 remake or what. And so they watched these announcements, and Blizzard announces a Warcraft 3 remaster. They announced a new character for Overwatch with Ashe. And at the end, they announced a new Diablo Immortal for cell phones. And people were not happy. In fact, they even booed at one point because there was a Q&A session. And in this Q&A session, someone actually asked, someone asked if this was out-of-season April Fool's joke, but someone else asked, is this going to come to PC in any capacity, or is this strictly mobile forever? And when they said that the current plan is that it's just a mobile game, they were booed. And you know what? I've heard a lot of people say that's really disrespectful. No one should do that. Shame on them. No. You know what? I respect the people at Blizzard. I respect the people who make these games. I understand it's not easy. It's quite a challenge to do this. You go through a lot. And to be booed on stage, that does kind of suck. But at the same time, I sometimes think that people need to be booed on stage at these gaming events more often. Far too often, dumb crap that no one likes is revealed and people just sort of clap out of courtesy. Maybe we should stop that. Maybe we should let our feelings known. Maybe we should boo more often. It certainly sends a startling message, especially when crowds booing is so rare. I mean, that is a hard thing to even get to happen. You have to displease pretty much the majority of your audience to get them to boo you. Normally, at least a few people will clap, and that's or most people will clap, and only a few people are booing. But in this case, no. They got booed. And they got booed for good reason. And this is one of the things I want to get at. Because I know a lot of game journalists are leaping to their defense and talking about how entitled gamers are and how ungrateful they are and how dare they. And some even crafting these ludicrous ideas about how this is just gatekeeping from hardcore gamers because they don't like to see their precious franchises put on cell phones. Some even saying, I can't wait for another classic franchise to be put on cell phone. Here's the thing. A number of classic franchises have gone on cell phone and been ruined. Never forget Dungeon Keeper Mobile, a game that borders on unplayable, as pretty much you just sit there and wait for hours for a single block to be excavated, or you have to pay actual real-world money to make the game progress at a functional speed. That is a garbage game, and everyone has a right to be angry about it. People are not pleased with the recent Command & Conquer mobile announcement. And of course, they're not happy about Diablo Immortal. Now, there are a lot of factors to this. Number one, people paid hundreds, sometimes even thousands of dollars to get their butts to BlizzCon in order to see this game. Number two, this was pretty much the only new game Blizzard showed. Number three, there was a lot of hype building up to this game before the fact. So people were excited for something. On top of that, Blizzard primarily makes PC games. It is rare for them to make a console game. It is rare for them to make a mobile game. It is rare for Blizzard to do anything outside of PC. So, pretty much the entire Blizzard fan base are PC fans, on top of the fact that Blizzard is widely considered to be quite possibly the best developer on PC. So they have a lot of PC fans. You tell them this game isn't going to be on PC, they won't be happy. People weren't happy about StarCraft Ghost not being on PC, and that was a very console-style game. But yeah, no, that like they kind of should have seen this. They kind of should have seen this coming. And at one point, when they were booed, the guy in the presentation was like, "Don't you all have cell phones?" Yes, many of them do. I don't. I use a cheapy track phone thing because I lose my cell phones too easily. Lost it this morning when I was trying to get to the show. It's a debacle for me, so I don't bother spending large sums of money on cell phones. I have one here for emergencies and getting contacted by potential jobs and stuff, but I don't have a smartphone. I did try mobile gaming on a tablet, and I quickly learned what a mess that is, because that's the thing. You might have a cell phone, doesn't mean you actually want to play games on it, okay? There's a lot of problems with it. Like, here's the thing. There are some good cell phone games out there, make no mistake. But in general, when you're making a cell phone game, you want to make something really touchscreen-centric that's made for short sessions. Hearthstone is fantastic for cell phones. Puzzle games, your Candy Crush, your Puzzle and Dragons, phenomenal for cell phones. Some RPGs can be pretty good on cell phones, that's for darn sure. You want shorter games that are also like slower and more thinking based and use a touch screen better. This is Diablo. It is a fast-paced action RPG utilizing precise controls. And when you move a game to a cell phone, not only is it uncomfortable to play these games on a cell phone, but they often have to be dumbed down to compensate for the weaker controls. I've experienced this myself with the utterly phenomenal Double Dragon on cell phones. The reason why that is delisted, the iPhone Android Double Dragon was great. The Brizio one, the Brazilian one. But it's not as good as the Zebo release, which was a Brazilian exclusive console. It's a long story. It wasn't as good as the version it was ported from, because that version was on consoles and it had faster, smarter enemies. They had to dumb down and weaken the enemies and make them move slower in order to compensate for touchscreen controls. That's sort of just the way these things kind of go down. And that's before getting into the microtransactions. Blizzard has not announced that there will be microtransactions, but there will likely be microtransactions in this game because it's a cell phone game. It's what people expect. People are used to there being piles and piles and piles of microtransactions. And that, of course, ruins your games. And I've heard some people try to make the argument defending microtransactions by comparing them to arcade games. Talking about how, back in the arcade days, we didn't have microtransactions. We just pumped quarters into the machine until we beat the boss. That is, and some people are citing the Capcom Beat 'em Up Collection, which, yes, the Capcom Beat 'em Up Collection is mostly unfair. Final Fight is actually a bad game, and people don't want to admit it. Double Dragon was always better. I should make a video about that. Final Fight is really overrated. Gorgeous game, by the way. Most of the reason why people like Final Fight is because of its phenomenal presentation that holds up to it this day. But in terms of gameplay, Double Dragon always was, always has been, and always will be the superior game. Mostly because all those games came out already. But yes, there were some very unfair arcade games. But here's the thing. When you're designing a game around arcade difficulty, it kind of makes it better. Because because you can't have the game be instantly hard, or people are going to go, this game's too hard, I'm not putting any more coins into it. You have to ease them in. And there's no time to put them through a lengthy tutorial. When you are making an arcade game, you have to make a game that people can instantly figure out and instantly start having fun with. Right? And then, after they get the hang of it, you have to start cranking up the difficulty, and you crank it up pretty fast, but not too fast. You gotta boil that frog. If you get too hard too fast, people realize they're wasting too much money on your machine, and they quit. So, you have to get that difficulty increase just non-steep enough that people feel like they can make progress on every quarter, but just steep enough that they're going to be pumping lots of quarters into that machine, resulting in these challenging but often relatively fair games. People can beat these games on 1 credit. Just, you gotta figure them out. And it's, I'm not going to say every game designed for arcades wasn't completely scammy. Final Fight is actually a very scammily designed game. But that is completely different from a game designed around microtransactions. You build a game around microtransactions, and what you do is you build a game, and then you, chop the experience in half. We saw this with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where they, give you 1/3 of the experience you're supposed to get, making it so that way you have to grind and grind and grind, but you can pay money for an experience booster. When you build a game around microtransactions, you wind up with something like Soul Calibur 6, where you take content that you already have done, cut it out of the game, and then say, hey, pay us more money if you want the full game that we're recycling from 11 years ago. When you build a game around microtransactions, you are intentionally neutering that game. You are basically making something where playing it without paying extra money is super hard, and then once you pay that money, it's super easy. And it completely destroys the balance and flow of the game. If you do not understand this, then you should not be a game journalist. There's a lot of people who shouldn't be. I'm just going to be honest. Every single person working in the video game industry is not qualified to be a game journalist. They're probably the least trustworthy I'm good with my mouth. That's going to be taken out of context. They are the least trustworthy people when it comes to this. And watching them leap to the defense of Blizzard on this with all these convoluted arguments is embarrassing. I normally try to keep these kinds of opinions out of my show, but at this point I'm actually quite pissed because I'm like, do you even understand how video games work? To which the answer is no. They're game journalists. They don't know how a video game works. But the point is, microtransactions ruin games. And they will likely ruin Diablo Immortal. That's just kind of the way it works. And the funny thing is, thinking about, what, we'll save that for later. I think there was a way they could have made Diablo Immortal's announcement work. But we may as well just throw the whole thing out the window. Literally, any defense of this game can be thrown in the trash due to one thing. Blizzard is not making Diablo Immortal. NetEase, a Chinese cell phone game company, is making it. And guess what? NetEase just happens to have a number of Diablo clones under its belt. Lots of people pointed out that Diablo Immortal looks like their game Crusaders of Light. It has a lot of the same skills, but Crusaders of Light is going for a more World of Warcraft kind of look. But then they have another game called Endless of God. That's a great name. And it's just a straight-up Diablo clone. Know what else they have? They have Kung Fu Panda 3, which is also a straight-up Diablo clone. And both Endless of God and Kung Fu Panda 3 have the exact same interface as Diablo Immortal. Gee, it's almost like they have a generic Diablo clone engine just sitting around in their offices that they can slap any skin on, including a Diablo skin. And when asked about this, one of the people in charge of the game said, someone asked, is this just a reskin of some of your previous games? And they said, no, we're working directly with Blizzard on the art assets. So actually they didn't say no. They said that they are working directly with Blizzard on the art assets. They didn't really give a clear no. Not really a clear yes or no. And based on the focus on art assets, it sounds to me like you're reskinning one of your old games with art assets handed to you from Blizzard. All of this is extra sad because Blizzard used to have ludicrous quality control standards and canceled a number of games that were near completed because they just weren't up to snuff. You can find the near-finished version of Warcraft Lord of the Clans, a point-and-click adventure, floating around the internet now. And, it's a little weak, but not terrible. Considering the amount of work they put into it, most companies would have just released it anyway. And then, of course, there's the aforementioned StarCraft Ghosts, the StarCraft stealth shooter third-person spin-off for the GameCube that was heavily hyped, very well publicized, to the point where the main character is actually in Heroes of the Storm. You know, they still use her as almost a mascot. But that game got canceled because Blizzard said it wasn't up to par with their standards. And yet now we're getting Diablo Immortal. I'm just saying, they're kind of called Activision Blizzard now, as many people are making a point of pointing out. Anyway, though, we need to take a quick little break. So here is Green and Blue by the Kevin Lucas Orchestra here on 89.5 FM, KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you for listening, and please stay tuned for more. That was Sunflower by Post Malone and Sway Lee here on 89.5 FM, KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and welcome back to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. But if you're tuning in late, missed the show, remember, you can find an archive of all of our episodes over on YouTube. Just search up GameBabble Live Archive. That's GameBabble, all one word, because if there's a space, you find Phil and Rick. Oh, they are. But they have a GameBabble. Anyway, welcome back to the show. Before we get back to discussing Diablo Immortal, I have some good news for all of you. Preview early copies of Johnny Turbo's Arcade Night Slashers have been released. And I also checked the official Nintendo website. And yes, despite the E10 Plus rating, this does appear to be the uncensored, full red-blooded Night Slashers in English. So good news for all the Night Slashers fans. You got the Night Slashers you want. The fine folks at Flying Tiger Entertainment who put this together were not completely tone deaf. Good job. Anyway, let us get back to discussing Diablo Immortal. So, before the break, I talked about how there was a lot of fan backlash against Diablo Immortal, the new Diablo cell phone game that was announced at BlizzCon. A copious amount, to the point where people were actually booed, which rarely happens at these kinds of things, and I think might need to happen more often. I know I'm being a bit of a jerk to the people on stage, and I feel bad for them. But when a company makes a boneheaded move like this, you shouldn't just, clap for politeness and then whine about it on Twitter later, because then they'll be like, well, people seem to like it when we presented it. No! Let them know right away. And then maybe they'll go, oh, yeah. So I was talking about how Blizzard has canceled nearly finished games in the past, like, with relative frequency. So it is quite, when they just weren't turning out quite right. So it is quite surprising to see Diablo Immortal moving on ahead. And I also mentioned that Diablo Immortal appears to just be a reskin of previous NetEase games. But Diablo Immortal is, it's a fascinating thing because games don't normally get this kind of backlash. There seem to be a number of people who are very confused about it, and as I've been explaining, there's good reasons. Diablo is a long-form game that you spend a lot of time with. It is not suited for cell phone play. A lot of people don't like playing faster action games on their cell phones because the touchscreen just isn't meant for it. It's great for Pokemon Go and Hearthstone and Candy Crush and Puzzle and Dragons. Those are games that work well on cell phones. Short form, a little bit slower paced, they're turn-based or require very simplistic actions. They're a good fit for a cell phone environment, and people like those games. But a game like Diablo Immortal, not really suited for cell phones, I don't think. And more than that, the bigger problem is that it's only cell phones. Because I was thinking about it, and the guy was like, so is there any chance of this coming to PC? And I was like, you know what? That guy has a point. Why isn't this cell phone and PC? And you know what? The Nintendo Switch isn't that far from cell phone architecture. If you can do it on cell phone, you can do it on Switch. And if you can do it on Switch, you can do it on PS4 and Xbox One. Why not release it on everything? Could you imagine how differently this announcement would have gone if they announced Diablo Immortal for everything? And they could all play together. And I know that sounds like a pipe dream, except wait a second. There's a little game, it's a little obscure, you might not have heard of it. It's called Fortnite. Yeah, it kind of does that exact thing. They finally got Sony to relent. And now people on cell phones, PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch can all play Fortnite together. Oh, egad, that would be great for a Diablo game. It's a multiplayer dungeon crawler. How amazing would it be to be able to play Diablo with any of your friends? Even if they don't have a good PC, even if they don't have a console, they could still join you on their cell phones. And then if they prefer to play on console, they could still join you while you're on your PC. It could bring everyone together, and they could have used that as a marketing tool, and people would have complained that it'd be dumbed down for cell phones, and that'd likely be true. In fact, it's already proving to be true. But they would have been like, they would have seen the advantage of having everyone be able to play Diablo together, but that isn't happening because Diablo Immortal is a quickly thrown together reskin of the NetEase Diablo clone engine. And there's even a part of me that almost feels bad about this because it's like, okay, if NetEase makes numerous Diablo clones, that does mean they have experience in making Diablo-style games. You could have leveraged this, kind of. Maybe their games were getting good enough that they could be considered official Diablos. I don't know. But it shows what the problem is, and it needs to be said, on top of all of this, this is a canon entry in the Diablo series. This takes place between the events of Diablo 2 and 3. So the hardcore Diablo fans still have to play this, and they're not going to like it. Because they already don't like it. So you're starting to see how all the pieces fall into place. And people who have actually put some hands-on time with the game are like, it feels a little off. Apparently, it doesn't have a mana system, it has a cooldown system. And the cooldown time on your skills is just way too long. And a lot of people are saying, yeah, you know what? It feels like an imposter. Maybe it doesn't feel like a real Diablo game. So, yeah, maybe there's a point here. Maybe there's a reason why people are complaining. Blizzard used to have the highest of high-quality control standards. Again, they canceled Warcraft Lord of the Clans and StarCraft's Ghosts, games that were practically finished because they didn't want to tarnish the brand because they didn't think they were that good. And oh, egad, I'm sure they were more than good enough. I mean, again, Lord of the Clans is out there, and people are like, it's not bad. It's a relatively unremarkable little point-and-click adventure, but if you were super hardcore into the Warcraft lore, you would have liked Lord of the Clans. They could have released that. It would have taken, in a weird way, it would have taken less effort to release it than to cancel it at that point, because they already put so much in it. You realize Optimus Prime is in Warcraft Lord of the Clans, right? Yeah, Prime is Horde. You can watch the clips on YouTube. Other funny thing about that, the people who actually animated the cutscenes in Warcraft Lord of the Clans are the people who did the Zelda CDI game, and I am mean. They've improved drastically, I must say. Also, their visual style works a bit better when they're dealing with orcs. They're very good at orcs. That is thumbs up on that one. But yeah, that was a nearly completed game, and it got canceled because it wasn't up to Blizzard standards. But this reskin is fine? You're understanding why people are pissed. Again, this wasn't a press event. This wasn't a shareholder event. This was a fan event. And this was what Blizzard brought to the table. People are not happy for a reason. And the fact that anyone would try to justify this crap blows my freaking mind. It's an embarrassment, to be blunt. Cripes. Listening to people like try to defend this through these convoluted means is just amazing. I need to sit down and make more videos in general, but I should just sit down and make a video based on that pile of tweets I have, pointing out just how jaw-droppingly stupid all the defense of this game is. The only defense you can make is that it doesn't look that bad. The company has experience making games like this, and maybe this one will shape up. Because I will be honest, it's actually a pretty gorgeous looking game, and the trailer actually does make it look really fun. I will give it that. But it being a cell phone game really does put a damper on things. Again, people don't necessarily like playing games on cell phone. There's a reason behind that, which I've just spent like the past half hour explaining. So, I think it's time to finally move on from Diablo Immortal. I think the hate is justified. But they also announced a Warcraft 3 remaster. Some people are excited about that. Some people are a little iffy because they are rewriting chunks of the plot to make it better fit with the story of World of Warcraft. On paper, this sounds good, but in practice, a lot of the super hardcore Blizzard fans have informed me that they don't like the World of Warcraft portrayal of the characters. They feel that they are too different from how they were originally portrayed in the rest of the Warcraft series, that the writing has gradually gotten worse with Warcraft 3, with World of Warcraft, and they might not be happy with how it's tainting Warcraft 3. And then, of course, Overwatch, they showed Ashe, which is the cowgirl hero. People are happy about that. Hey, it's basically female McCree. Lots of people love that. Moving on to the other big news of the week. Nintendo did the final Nintendo Super Smash Bros. Direct. They showed the last characters. Many hopes and dreams were shattered, especially by the assist trophies, because both Isaac and Shadow showed up as assist trophies. People were very sad. No, I'm sad. I don't even like the Golden Sun games. I couldn't get into them, but Isaac's character model looks really cool, and I kind of want to play as him. It's also kind of awesome because his ability is shooting out giant hands, and it's like, it'd be fun to use against Master Hand. Anyway, the characters they did show is that, yes, Ken will be in the game as an Echo Fighter of Ryu. They are making the appropriate tweaks where his Hurricane Kick and his Shoryuken and his Hadouken all work a little bit differently. So Ken is very Ken, and lots of people are pointing and laughing because Ken looks so much better in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate than he does in Street Fighter V. It's actually embarrassing, because rest assured, the Smash Ultimate Ken is a lower poly count model, but it has better art design, and the hair doesn't look like a bunch of bananas. It's a little important not to have bananas for your hair, unless your name is Dr. Banana Hair. So, people are very happy to see Ken. He was a good choice, make him an Echo Fighter of Ryu. He's kind of the original Echo Fighter, as some people have said, and then backtracked and said, well, really, Luigi's the original Echo Fighter. But moving on, the actually new character, as gratuitously predicted, was Incineroar, who honestly has a really cool moveset. Incineroar is being portrayed as a wrestler. He can actually summon ropes to bounce off of, and then the follow-up attack to that is entirely timing-based. If you do it too early, you do one move. Do it too late, you do another move. Do it just on time, and you do the move right. There's this timing element to him, making him a more technical character. We haven't really seen a character be just 100% I am a wrestler. There are memes going around of Incineroar dressed as Macho Man Randy Savage. And the last bit of the announcement, in terms of characters, proves that Masahiro Sakurai is the master troll. Because a lot of people were going, we want Waluigi, but they started being jerks about it, and started harassing him pretty heavily on Twitter, which even other Waluigi fans were like, dude, that's not cool. And I want to point something out to all the Waluigi fans out there. You realize this is a new phenomenon, right? That Sakurai didn't know? I say this based on the fact that, as if I recall correctly, Waluigi was not on the Smash ballot. No one voted for him back when we were voting for what characters we wanted in Smash for Wii U. There was not that big demand, unlike Ridley, unlike King K. Rool. Heck, unlike Lip. There were a lot of other characters that people were demanding to be in Smash that... And then, for there suddenly to be this big outcry for the lack of Waluigi, what? This is the first Sakurai's heard of this. But a lot of people said that there were too many Super Mario Brothers characters, so they wouldn't add another one. Well, they revealed that as pre-order bonus DLC, they will be releasing, a couple months after the game's release, Piranha Plant. And I'm happy. I have a friend who does like the Piranha Plant and would love to play as a Piranha Plant. And more than that, I always love the weird pick, because every Smash game has one fighter that comes just completely out of nowhere. I mean, in the original, it would easily be Captain Falcon, I'd say. Who would put Captain Falcon in a game? And then they made him really awesome. In Melee, it would easily be Mr. Game & Watch. In Brawl, it would be Rob. And in Smash for Wii U, Duck Hunt Dog. And these are all some of my favorite characters. Mr. Game & Watch and Rob are some. Rob is my secondary. Mewtwo is my main. Rob is my secondary. I always use Mr. Game & Watch. They are fantastic characters. I love when Nintendo digs into the deep lore for their characters. And yeah, Piranha Plant is the weird, what the heck, I didn't see this coming character choice. It is a weird one. As I said, it will be free DLC for people who pre-order. I'm like, not bad. But, yeah, they did also announce there will be 5 characters and 5 stages released as DLC. There will be a season pass. And I actually kind of applaud Sakurai's presentation of the season pass, because he did say it would make more sense for us to tell you what's in the season pass before you bought it. But we can't do that because we don't know yet. So please only purchase the season pass if you feel that it is a good value. And I'm like, that's actually a weirdly nice way of putting it. And yeah, rest assured the season pass will be new content, because, in fact, they pointed that out as well. All the old characters have returned. They can't recycle anybody. All 5 characters that they release as DLC have to be new. So there's that. They also showed the Spirits mode / World of Light. The game will have a lengthy campaign mode. Unfortunately, it is not like Subspace Emissary. There won't be stages where you get into battles with mooks. Instead, they just have this world map with a bunch of different challenge fights based on, characters that aren't in the game. Like, there is actually a Shantae fight, where you fight against a Zero-Suit Samus with special abilities to allow her to sort of mimic Shantae. There's a Lip fight, which is a Mii character dressed in the Lip outfit and using Lip's stick for the entire match. And then you, collect essentially the stickers for the characters. You equip them to your character to give them stat boosts. It's all whatever. It's not that big of a deal, except for the fact that there's a big, lengthy single-player campaign mode, which is chock full of just bizarre guest appearances in the form of these Spirits characters. And that's actually kind of exciting and fun. I think it's clear that it's not a massive effort mode the way Subspace Emissary was, but it's still a cool mode because it gives people that can't play with friends or aren't interested in multiplayer some kind of single player to latch onto and to play. It gives us a campaign without taking too much away from the rest of the dev time. Good call. I'm very happy with this edition. Also, it does have some kind of weird story. And they also gave it a vocal theme song called World of Light, which is a vocal version of the song that they've been using in every single Smash Ultimate trailer and everything. Basically, the Smash Ultimate theme song. So that's actually really cool. I'm excited. I know a lot of hopes and dreams were crushed, but at the same time, Sakurai did kind of tell us not to expect too many new characters, and he already provided way more new characters than any of us expected. Honestly, I need to sit down and think about who all the new characters were. I think I'm going to do that after the break, because we got to take a break pretty soon. But they've announced a pretty hefty chunk of new characters for Smash Ultimate for a game that's already bringing back a ton of characters, on top of the fact that they are remodeling and reanimating the entire, 74 character roster. It's a lot of characters. There are actually more playable characters than there are assist trophies. There's 56 assist trophies and 74 playable characters. So, I'm gonna respect that. But then again, I'm happy. I got Daisy and Richter. I couldn't ask for more in Smash. Asking for anything else would be ludicrous. So yeah, that is certainly a thing. We gotta take a break pretty soon. But I do want to make one more announcement before we go on. If you've already downloaded PT, it still works. Konami did not disable it. To those unfamiliar, couple years back, Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro were teaming up to make a new Silent Hill game called Silent Hills. They announced this through a downloadable demo thing called PT, which stands for Playable Teaser. And if you download it, it was this fully playable little horror experience that a lot of people friggin' loved. It's gorgeous. Lots of people got spooked by it. And then at the end, it reveals it's going to be a new Silent Hill game, and people were very excited. Well, Konami lost their mind, fired Hideo Kojima. The entire project got scrapped, and at one point, Konami deleted the PT demo. If you delete your copy of that demo, you cannot re-download it. It is wiped from the Sony servers. And some people have been selling PlayStation 4s with the PT demo on it at ludicrously high prices. It is considered to be a very valuable demo, because it's actually kind of lengthy, and a lot of people think that it's really cool. And cripes, if Konami just managed to uncancel that, so many people would throw their money at them, but that's not happening, of course. But anyway, as Konami is known for making boneheaded moves recently, rumors started circulating that a patch was released for the PT demo, which prevented it from launching, that the game just would not start. And there were a lot of conflicting reports of this. And this all started circulating on Halloween. And it circulated so hard that Konami and PT actually started trending on Twitter. The whole thing was a hoax. Someone photoshopped the image claiming that there was a 1.01 update for the PT demo. So many people got pissed off at Konami about a thing that was completely made up that it actually started trending on Twitter in a weird way, slightly brilliant, because I understand what they were doing. It wasn't just a troll, they were trying to get PT uncanceled. They wanted to show Konami, hey, a bunch of people still really want this game, and if you took their demos away from them again, then they would be very angry at you because they love this game so much. This game that you're not even making. Maybe you should make it. But that didn't work. Just like the Bloody Roar 5 announcement. Plural. Anyway. I do believe it is time for us to take a break. So, let's see. I guess coming up next is High Hopes by Panic at the Disco here on 89.5 FM KCFE The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned for more. That was One Kiss by Calvin Harris and Dua Lipa here on 89.5 FM KCFE The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and welcome back to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. But if you're joining us late, missed that show, don't worry. We do have a YouTube channel up, GameBabble Live Archive. That's GameBabble, all one word. Otherwise, you run into two guys named Phil and Rick, and I don't know who they are. But, yeah, just type that in. We've got over 60 episodes uploaded. You can listen to them on YouTube. Hit up the Google Drive to download the MP3 files of them. It's fantastic. We got that going on. So, we just spent a good chunk of time talking about Diablo Immortal. And we recently spoke of the Nintendo Direct. Good times there. Also, while we're on the subject of Nintendo, Splatoon 2 is adding its final Salmon Run map. The way Nintendo has been handling their updates on their games is they realize they don't have the resources to update these games infinitely. They are not making MMORPGs. So, they generally say, okay, for like a year or two, we're going to have people on the DLC and update crew. They could always go back and add more. But for the most part, they're trying to wind down the Splatoon 2 Update Festival, which they've already extended due to how well received Splatoon 2 has been. But this is supposed to be the final Salmon Run. We're getting our final maps and supposedly, final Salmon Run map. I don't want to say we're getting our final weapons because we could get more. In fact, on that note, ARMS, wasn't ARMS teasing a new character recently? Whatever happened with that? No, ARMS got updates after its final update, quote-unquote, so who knows what will happen. Moving on, though, the Sega Ages series, which are a number of extra premium high-quality ports by the company M2, who put a lot of time and effort into their work. They have admitted that doing the bestiary for Phantasy Star 1 has slowed down their releases, but that they have more on the way. Phantasy Star 1 will be getting its US Switch release on November 15th, so we don't have to wait that much longer. The next game on the docket, though, is Virtua Racing, and they don't want to say what the new feature is, but they're saying that it's something for everyone to be able to play together. So that implies multiplayer. And the question then becomes, what's the multiplayer? Are you adding split screen? Is it system link? Is it online? Is it all of the above? All of these would be interesting because technically Virtua Racing has not had a pure arcade home port. There was a Sega Genesis version that was very impressive, a 32X version, a Sega Saturn version, and a PS2 version, but all of these have done something that makes them not exactly, straight arcade perfect. But then again, this one adding more modes might make it not arcade perfect either, but either way, this one is based on the arcade code, and yeah, they want it to be as close to the classic arcade as possible, and you know what, that's what I'm actually looking forward to, because that's such an unusual release. Now, this is running on Sega's old Model 1 arcade hardware, which was their earliest 3D hardware, and the fine folks at M2 are pleased to report that they have the Model 1 working flawlessly and that they could port the Star Wars arcade game if they had the rights. Now, when we say the Star Wars arcade game, I don't mean the one that you can still find in arcades relatively easily. I mean the flat-shaded Model 1 arcade game that the 32X game was based on. Now, it looks a little bit better in arcades. It was a very rare cabinet, and it's really fun, so it'd be nice if it could get a non-32X home port. But yeah, that is a thing. That is a interesting thing. They're also saying that they have their Naomi emulator running pretty darn well. Fingers crossed, which they've said they've done specifically for one game, probably Jet Set Radio. A lot of people are also hoping for Skies of Arcadia. Me, I'm hoping they do a bunch of games that didn't get home ports. Spike Out, Slash Out especially. I'd really like to see a home port of Planet Harriers. I've been demanding that for over a decade. Although that's Hikaru and not Naomi. That might be a little bit trickier since Hikaru is two Naomis duct taped together. But either way, you get the idea. They have a lot of games they could port with the Naomi emulator, and I hope they do. M2 does really good work. I love what they do. M2 has also confirmed that they have no involvement with the upcoming Virtualon collection. They would have added more content to it, but I'm just happy to hear we're getting a Virtualon collection, because in case you missed it, yeah, they're releasing a Virtual On collection for PS4 of the original Cyber Troopers, the final patch of Oratorio Tangram, and Mars. No clue if it'll have the Mars DLC, but it will have... Or, not Mars. I'm sorry. Force, not Mars. Throw Mars out a window. Force. Force also isn't as good as Oratorio Tangram. For anyone unfamiliar, Oratorio Tangram is the best. Cyber Troopers is a little bit faster. Oratorio Tangram has the largest movesets and is the most technical. Force kind of dumbed things down for the sake of 2-on-2. And then Mars, which is the PS2 exclusive, was just way too slow. And then they did a certain magical Virtual On, which is just an embarrassment because it doesn't even have proper twin stick controls. Although someone has kickstarted twin sticks for it, which makes me wonder how the heck is that going to work? Or did they patch in twin stick support? I had to go load up my copy and see if they fixed it. Anyway, so that's all happening there. Also, Sega has renewed the Virtua Fighter license and copyrighted the name Battle Genesis, making some people think they might make a Virtua Fighter Battle Genesis. Either way, this was important because, hey, guess what? Akira Yuki, in his Model 1 flat-shaded polygon form, shows up in Smash as a, assist trophy. So that's cool. Hey, speaking of Diablo, the Diablo Loot Goblin is getting an amiibo for your Nintendo Switch to use with the Switch version of Diablo 3. However, having said that, the amiibo looks to just be a repaint of their cute but deadly figure of the Loot Goblin, so it's a lazy amiibo on top of that. Castlevania on Netflix, which has been a phenomenal show. I need to sit down and watch Season 2, but Season 2 is out. Season 3 is confirmed. People are loving it. Also, speaking of classic things, Resident Evil 2 Remake will have classic Leon and Claire costumes as unlockables, not DLC, actual real unlockables in the game. And also classic is the NES and SNES Classic, which have sold over 10 million units worldwide. See, Nintendo, we told you, if you just made enough for people to actually buy, people would buy them. Both units are now readily available on store shelves. If you want one, you can find them easily now. Thank goodness. Of course, the other big news that's sweeping the internet for people that aren't me is Deltarune. Deltarune is some kind of spin-off sequel thing taking place in the Undertale universe. It is not a complete game. Rather, you can go to the website and download a free copy of Chapter 1 of Deltarune, which is a game meant for people who have beaten Undertale and is, it's only going to have one ending. It's not going to have multiple endings. But apparently after you play through it, you are given a survey asking about what you want to see in Deltarune. And it's going to be very interesting. Also interesting to point out is that Deltarune is an anagram of Undertale. Move the letters around and Undertale becomes Deltarune. Either way, for Undertale fans, hey, guess what? Here's more Undertale. Which, yeah, that's good. I already mentioned that Inasa is coming as DLC for My Hero 1's Justice. Let's see. Here's something I forgot to mention last week that kind of shatters my brain. They're making another new Bubsy game. I don't know why, but they're doing it. This one is called Bubsy Paws on Fire. Bubsy Paws on Fire. It's being made by Whoa Dave Games, which is a different developer from the last one. The last one was by the people who did Gianna Sisters Twisted Dreams. This one is being done by the Bit Trip Runner series creators. And credit where credit's due, they went into the deep Bubsy lore. They are featuring characters which had previously only showed up in the one episode of the Bubsy cartoon. So, Bubsy's, niece and nephew and, next door neighbor guy, they were only in the cartoon, which only ever had one episode. Oh, they're in the game! For all the hardcore Bubsy fans, making another Bubsy. Why are you making another Bubsy? Stop it! What are you doing? So that's happening. Oh, no. Then again, you know what? Can't turn out any worse than that new Shaq Fu. So where are we? Ah, yes! Whew, let me check and see if there's any breaking news. Admittedly, aside from these major points of discussion, there hasn't been too terribly much going on. Oh, Persona 3 and Persona 5 Dancing All Night demos are up in North America. Look forward to downloading them, giving them a spin. Taking way too long to come to America. I can't wait to play those games. Super Robot Wars is supposed to have a new announcement. That's all fine and dandy. For some reason, Dead or Alive Extreme Venus Vacation has a crossover with the Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. I don't know why. None of that makes sense. But okay. You know, whatevs. League of Legends has some K-pop costumes for certain characters because reasons. Yeah. Not too terribly much going on aside from those few big announcements. Let's look through. Various developments being considered to accompany Final Fantasy VII Remake. Just develop the game! No more developments, just develop the game. Closed event. Tetsuya Nomura answered various fan questions. One of them was simply, I want to play Before Crisis Final Fantasy VII again. Not everyone may know this, but I'm remaking Final Fantasy right now. I've got Kingdom Hearts 3. As finished 7 will be where I head next. Thinking regarding the remake of Kitase. Oh, us old timers are considering what accompanies a remake, like do something about the compilation of Final Fantasy VII title, but for the time being, please wait for 7's turn to come. Please, yes, thank you. All sorts of things. Yeah, no. Maybe I'm missing something, but yeah, it has been relatively sedate. Rabby Ribby PS4 and PS Vita are getting limited run physical editions for the for that. Now there are two stories that go well together. So, according to Kotaku, not necessarily the best source of information, but still, Diablo 4 was going to be announced at BlizzCon, but they pulled it because Blizzard is stupid, apparently. Blizzard planned to announce Diablo 4 at BlizzCon this weekend, following the announcement of the smartphone game, but the announcement was pulled. Two people familiar with Blizzard's plans have told Kotaku Diablo 4 announcement would have reportedly come in the form of a teaser video, which Blizzard told the crowd Diablo is in development but not ready to show. Changed plan once the person was not ready to commit to the announcement. Diablo 4 has changed drastically over the past few years, may continue to change. Kotaku also heard that Diablo 4 has gone through at least 2 different iterations under different directors. Okay. So, sorry if that was a little quiet for you to hear. I know it was a little mumbly there. So, Blizzard was going to announce Diablo 4 at BlizzCon after the Diablo Immortal trailer. But because there's too much internal strife regarding the direction Diablo 4 should take, they don't want to commit to the game. Which essentially screwed everything up. They kind of should have announced Diablo 4 because that would have really eased the pain of the Diablo Immortal announcement, and it pretty much would have saved BlizzCon. They kind of screwed up with that one. They have said that they had multiple Diablo projects in development, but people would have liked to have seen something about what any of them were beyond Diablo Immortal. But still, yeah, pulling that at the last minute, probably the worst decision. But what makes this funny is that announced basically at the exact same time, I'm reading Gematsu right now, is that Path of Exile is coming to PS4 in December. So, we screwed up on Diablo Path of Exile, though. For those unfamiliar, Path of Exile is a very Diablo-esque game. I think some old Diablo people may have even worked on it. And a lot of people actually do like it more than Diablo 3, but because it is, I think it's free to play, and it has some kind of pricey microtransactions, but people really like the game and consider it to be very nice. I'm pretty interested in this, actually, because I've been meaning to play the game, but look, I have a personal beef with mouse-based control if I'm only controlling one character. I love Diablo on paper, but in practice, I really want a gamepad for it, and if Diablo 3 hadn't turned me off so much, I would have picked it up on console. But no one wanted to play with me on console because everyone had burned themselves out on PC. Because, we all picked up Diablo 3 at launch. Which, while we're on the subject, friendly reminder that Diablo 3 had a terrible friggin' launch. A lot of people forget about that. But Diablo 3 requires you to be on the internet in order to play it, at least on PC. And on launch day, their servers were too bogged down, so there were people who bought the game and just wanted to play it single player and couldn't because it required an internet connection that they could not get. This is a problem. And then there was the auction shop thing, which they've since patched out, but that was also a big problem. So yeah, okay, that's 10 million tons of interesting right there. Yeah, I need to look something up. Someone get me to that Steam page. Cause if Path of Exile supports controllers, then dang it. Single player, multiplayer, online multiplayer, MMO, co-op, Steam. I don't see any controller support. Dang it. Maybe it has one, maybe it doesn't, but so that's a recurring issue. While we're here, friendly reminder that Blizzard promised to patch in controller support for Diablo 3 after the console release, and they never did. I would really like controller support for Path of Exile. But either way, whatever. I will likely pick it up when it launches on when it launches on PS4 and Xbox One, which, hey, that's December. Probably December 7th. That's when the 3.5.0 expansion comes out. Nice. Okay, that's some interesting news right there. I might finally try Path of Exile. But we're going a little long. We gotta hit a break. So coming up next is I Like It by Cardi B featuring Bad Bunny and J Balvin here on 89.5 FM KCFE, the wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening, and please stay tuned for more. That was Let You Down by Seether here on 89.5 FM KCFE, the wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and welcome back to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. Whew! So, we've spent a lot of the show talking about the disappointment surrounding Diablo Immortal, just now finding out that supposedly Diablo 4 was supposed to be announced after Diablo Immortal, but there's too much strife going on with the game's development. Moving on, though, Path of Exile is getting a PS4 and Xbox One release. However, unfortunately, I looked into it, and no controller support is coming for the PC versions. The official word from the people who make Path of Exile, Grinding Gear Games, is that they had to make a lot of changes in order for the game to work with controller, making it a fundamentally different game on PS4 and Xbox One compared to PC. So that also likely means no crossplay either. So that's going to be interesting because I know I'll enjoy the game infinitely more on PS4. Disappointing that I can't play it on PC, but oh well. And I know, people are going to be like, well, you could use these various, mouse and keyboard to gamepad emulation solution things, except I'm not paying money for that, and I don't think they work out very well. Also, I mentioned that one thing I wanted to do was look into the new characters that they had released for Smash Ultimate, because we got our final Smash Direct, and they revealed that Ken and Incineroar are the final characters. Piranha Plant will be early purchase / pre-ordered DLC. So that's all fine and dandy and cool, but it does make you say, oh wow, that's it? Are we done with characters? I wanted so much more. And we still have 5 more coming as DLC after all of that. But, a lot of people is that it? Are we done with characters? But Sakurai had mentioned early on, because they were bringing back everyone, to not expect too many new characters. I mean, they were bringing back a good, 10 characters that were missing from Smash Wii U, and friendly reminder, Smash Ultimate is not really much of a port of Smash Wii U, considering everyone had their character models redone and had drastic changes to their character animations, and characters like Link and Zelda were completely redone, Link even more so. They did a lot more to this game than just, let's port the one from Wii U and add a couple extra characters. As it is, they'd already added in a ton of characters. They said, don't expect us to add too many more. And they have added 5 brand new characters and 3 Echo Fighters. For anyone wondering, the new characters, just as a recap for Smash Ultimate, are the Inkling from Splatoon, Simon Belmont, King K. 6, I forgot, King K. Rool, freaking Ridley, Incineroar, and Isabelle from Animal Crossing. So that's 6 new characters, 3 Echo Fighters, 9 new characters total, you could say. For the Echo Fighters, of course, it's Richter, Daisy, and Ken. That's a pretty nice roster. That's actually a lot more characters than we expected them to add. Because, in fact, a friend of mine was kind of predicting that. He was saying that 5 characters was what he was expecting. Getting 6 characters, it's overestimate. And we weren't sure they were actually going to be 5 new characters either. So that is a pretty good lineup. Again, we got K. Rool, we got Ridley, we got Simon. Those were 3 heavily requested characters. Inkling was an obvious choice, and then, Incineroar and Isabelle, which I'm guessing Isabelle was the big Japanese pull. Because I was just wondering, what's going to be the one where it's does anyone in America care about this? This is for Japan more than anything else. I'm going to guess that was Isabelle. She has kind of a fan base. And yeah, she is actually a new character, not an Echo Fighter, a villager. So 6 characters. Actually, wait. Shoot. They have added enough characters that I forget characters. We have Chrom. Which from Fire Emblem Awakening. I forgot. We got more Fire Emblem characters, people. We gotta have more Fire Emblem characters. Smash, it doesn't have enough Fire Emblem characters. Still, Chrom got his chance as promised. He is in the game, and he is sort of a half Echo Fighter. A lot of people are saying that he's a blend of a bunch of other Fire Emblem characters. I'm not enough of an expert on the topic to confirm nor deny this. But still, so we got Chrom in there, too. That means we got 10 new characters, if you're counting Echo Fighters. It's pretty good. It's pretty good for a game coming out, for a new Smash game that has this 74 characters. Buy it early and you get Piranha Plant for 75. 5 more characters as DLC. We'll have 80 characters by the time we're done. If we're even done at 5 characters. Because they could always just say, hey, Season 2 of DLC. They could always do more. So, what I'm going to say is, sorry for the fans of Isaac and Shadow. You never know. They could still come. But, yeah, I was rooting for Ribbon Girl, But I got Daisy and Richter. I am so far beyond good. I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing with Smash Ultimate. It's certainly more work than they have ever... more work than they've put into Soul Calibur 6. I know I have spent... How many months now complaining about Soul Calibur 6, and Dead or Alive 6, but still, just one more. Not one more. I'll probably complain about it next week, too. I am amused at how much people are defending this stupid game. It's fun. It's just, so much of the content is recycled from 11 years ago. And there's less of it. It's a double contraction pack. If the rest of the Soul series didn't exist, it would be fine. But it does. And so you're like, wait a second, you're reselling me an 11-year-old game with less content. But, like, improved gameplay, but Reversal Edge is really, really questionable. Ugh, cripes. But anyway, one thing I want to point out, one thing I find funny. The new Soul Calibur is being accepted as an actually brand new game, even though they're recycling character models and animations from 11 years ago and stages even from 11 years ago. The stages are a little newer. They're from 5 instead of 4. And yet that one actually gets recognized as a new game. Meanwhile, Smash Ultimate, which is actually redoing everyone's character model, including Pikachu and Mr. Game & Watch, who didn't need their character models redone, including Jigglypuff and Kirby. Every single character is having their character model redone. Every single character is getting new animations. Some characters are getting drastic changes. Link's entire moveset is noticeably changed, and yet that one is the port. Well, then again, I guess you couldn't call Soul Calibur 6 a port because it has less content. Ports aren't supposed to have less content than the games they're ported from. Because it's less than a port. It's a contraction pack. I'm sorry, I get heated about this one. This one drives me nuts because it's happening again. Namco. And I understand why they're doing it. The more I think about it, the more I understand why Namco's doing it. Here's the deal with Soul Calibur. You see, Soul Calibur, not successful in Japan. Don't think it's successful in Korea or China either. So it's just America, and maybe Europe, that care about the Soul Calibur franchise, right? So Namco kind of hates it because of that, because they also have Tekken, and Tekken is popular the world over. So they would like to get rid of the Soul Calibur series, because it's just a bunch of stupid Americans that like Soul Calibur, but everyone likes Tekken. And every penny they spend on Soul Calibur is a penny they could have spent on more Tekken. You realize if Soul Calibur 6 wasn't made, they might have been able to make like 3 more DLC characters for Tekken 7. I say that, of course, because it was made on a shoestring budget. But the thing is, the game is wildly successful, and the fans keep demanding more, myself included. I have a weird mix of regretting and not regretting buying the new Soul Calibur because I like the series. It is a fun game. I am having fun with it. I just know I'm getting screwed over by Namco. And I want them to recognize this is a good game. This is a good series. Please continue it. Next time, actually put effort into it. Literally, all you have to do is take Soul Calibur 4 and improve upon it. Like, flesh it out. Fix the gameplay. Well, you fixed the gameplay, but you took away like a third of the game. Drives me utterly nuts. But, I'm kind of happy to continue to be a thorn in Namco's side that makes them money. Oy vey. So, that's the truth. And, of course, Harada, the guy in charge of Tekken, is also, he's not the head of the Soul team, but he is in charge of the Namco Fighter Division. So he gets to tell them what to do. So him, being the head of Tekken, having preference for Tekken, kind of wants to get rid of Soul Calibur. And that's why they keep trying to sabotage the games, so that way they can just put all their time and effort and money into making Tekken sell better, instead of Soul Calibur. Except, newsflash, Soul Calibur is a better game, screw Tekken. Okay, personal opinion. But a lot of people are, a lot of Tekken players are going, wow, I actually really like Soul Calibur a lot better. The 8-way run is phenomenal. It's like, yeah, it's kind of a fun game. speaking personally, I just don't like Tekken. Never really like the way they do the inputs. Never really like the way it feels. They have done their best to make me like Tekken, and I've tried, but when push comes to shove, I'd rather not. I don't have fun playing Tekken. It's just me. Not my thing. Again, don't like the way it works. And the only way to make me like Tekken is to make it Bloody Roar, so you probably shouldn't turn Tekken into Bloody Roar. You should probably just let Tekken be Tekken, and let me be a person who really isn't that interested in Tekken and isn't more interested in Soul Calibur. That would make sense, but no, we gotta... Stupid. It's all stupid. So that's where we're at with that. What was I talking about? I was talking about Smash. I was talking about how Smash Ultimate is unquestionably more of an actual new game than Soul Calibur. Cripes. But of course, because it's Smash and because it's the Wii U, people are just assuming it's a port. That drives me nuts. I understand where it comes from. Because people actually call the Switch the better Wii U. Which, as someone who actually really liked the Wii U, kind of annoys me. I get where it comes from, though. The Wii U, let me tell you, being a fan of the Wii U was a weird experience. I've never seen a console go down like that. Because here's the thing, the Wii U did not get... There are consoles that don't get any third-party support, and then there's the Wii U, which really got no third-party support. After its launch, Nintendo had to carry that console all by themselves, and the heck if they didn't do a good job of it. Because Nintendo couldn't cancel the Wii U. If Nintendo... Think about it. Imagine if after a year and a half, Nintendo announced the Switch and released that. Just got rid of the Wii U instantly. Why would anyone buy the Switch then? Then the rumor would be, LOL, why would I buy this? It'll just flop and Nintendo will make a new console. They should just go third party. If Nintendo doesn't want to go third party, which they really don't, and they have their reasons, then they needed to support the Wii U, even though it drove the company into the red for the first time since they started making playing card games. Well, like, I think the last time they went into the red was their skeet shooting galleries that they made, the electronic skeet shooting galleries. I think I saw a video on that. They just, like, overspent on building the locations. Either way, though, I want you to think about that. They had to stick by the Wii U, an obviously failing system, in order to like not betray their fans and try to show them that buying a Nintendo system has value. That took some doing. And as such, the Wii U got a ton of, well, maybe not a ton, but a hefty chunk of good exclusive games that no one has played. So it kind of makes the Switch a lot easier because they could just literally take everything you made on Wii U, port it to the Switch, and that's what everyone's expecting. But with Smash, it's Smash, and they're putting in the extra effort to make it not just a port. It's important to remember that Smash has been recycling code since at least Melee. Brawl was built off of Melee. And I'm pretty sure that Wii U is built off of Brawl. But they always make so many changes and improvements and tweaks that calling it a port is incredibly inaccurate. And I'd like to point out that literally nearly every 3D fighting game does this. Every single Dead or Alive has been recycling data from the previous Dead or Alive. As I mentioned, every single Soul Calibur has been recycling data from the previous Soul Calibur. You know, this isn't uncommon. But the thing is, when you recycle that data, when you're recycling character models and animations and stuff, you just gotta add on to it. You have to add more, add more, add more. Smash Ultimate has gone well beyond adding more, considering they are drastically overhauling character models and animations even when they don't need to. Yes, the stage roster is mostly returning stages, but returning stages are still, that's one thing. But there's also new stages, and there's new characters, and all the old characters have been more drastically overhauled than they are in most, pretty much than Soul Calibur. I mean, they always screw up the movesets in every new Soul Calibur, but they're... Okay, it's about the same level of overhauling, possibly more so for moves. The point is they're making new character models, unlike Soul Calibur. And certainly more so than characters have ever been overhauled with the Dead or Alive series. I'm pet peeve just seeing people so adamant about calling Smash Ultimate a port. And the question, of course, is why does that matter? It matters to me. It's a two-pronged mattering now. It matters to me because Sakurai is putting so much work into the game, putting more work into Smash Ultimate than Namco or Capcom puts into their fighting games, and yet while their games get recognized as sequels, Smash Ultimate is just seen as a port because it's on Switch. It's not because it's actually a port, it's because it's on Switch, and people want to believe that they're just copy-pasting games from Wii U because that's the joke. But it's a joke, and egad, if you knew how often I get pissed off when a joke becomes reality. Newsflash, Cocteau Chojin is a good game. The only reason people think it's bad is because of a joke. I don't particularly like Cocteau Chojin, but it's based on Tobal. It's Tobal number 3. You play Tobal 2 and Cocteau Chojin back to back, and you go, oh wow, Cocteau Chojin is like Tobal 2, except better. But Tobal 2 is recognized as a good game, a lost classic of the PS1 that we never got, while Cocteau Chojin is remembered as one of the worst fighting games ever made, based on the fact that no one played it, but EGM made a joke about how bad it was, and that's why it was pulled off the market. Certainly didn't have anything to do with not trying to offend Muslims. No, it was because of that. Because yes, the ending theme for one of the characters had verses of the Quran being sung, which is considered like a sin by the super hardcore Muslims, and that, of course, is considered offensive, and so they pulled it off the store shelves. This is not the first time it happened. Little Big Planet was delayed for literally the same reason, and they stealth-edited Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time because it did the same thing. Why do people keep using this chant? Hi. My name is Jill. Welcome to GameBabble Live. Anyway, I think it's time for us to take a break. I think I need quite a break. I think I need all of the breaks. I think I might have actually braked. Here is I Can't Quit by the Vaccines. Here on 89.5 FM KCFV, the wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening. The FGC are idiots. That was Say We'll Be Fine by Inmical Drive here on 89.5 FM KCFV, the wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and welcome back to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. So we are wrapping up the show, but if you missed it, just hit up YouTube, search up GameBabble Live Archive, and you should find some episodes for you. That's GameBabble, all one word. Otherwise, you run into Phil and Rick. I don't know who they are. They got a GameBabble, but there's got a space, because they're lame. Anyway, here we are, wrapping up the show, and I did promise to talk a little bit about MapleStory 2, which has been interesting. One thing that really needs to be said is that making a sequel to an MMORPG is one of the hardest things to do. And you're probably going to say, well, why is that? Actually, no, you probably already know why, but let's go over it. An MMORPG is a potentially infinite game. You know, there's tons of content, huge worlds. You can theoretically just play it forever. And it's actually quite natural for them to add more content through updates and patches, often drastically expanding the game. An MMO kind of never needs to end. And as such, many of them stick around for a very long while, especially the successful ones, which are the ones you'd want to make a sequel to. Problem, that means people have devoted hundreds of thousands of hours of their life to playing that one game. As it gets ever bigger, deeper, and more expansive with each and every update. But time moves on. Technology advances. And as such, the games that were really, really cool, like 10 years ago, you go back, you play them now, and it's like, oh wow, they could do this so much better nowadays. with the bigger budget and better technology. And as such, they often try. They often say, we're going to do a sequel to our MMO. But that means nuking your entire progress. You move on to a sequel, and it may look better, but guess what? It's not going to have all of that content that's built up over nearly a decade. So it shrinks back down, and you got to start over. So you have to take your hundreds of thousands of hours of progress and all the cool loot and gear and rare things that you've bought and throw it out the window as you move on to starting fresh in a severely gimped remake of that game you love. And you become overly critical of every single change. It is very hard to pull this off. And usually the sequels wind up petering out before the originals. Like, I'm pretty sure EverQuest 1 is still around, but EverQuest 2 isn't. Not 100% sure on that, but I think that's the situation. And you can understand that. MapleStory 2, however, well, I think managed to pull off the sequel thing a bit better because it's so different. To those who haven't played it, MapleStory is a pretty old MMO by now. And it was interesting because it was a 2D side-scrolling, slightly action-based MMO with platforming in it. Back during the waning days of dial-up, when people weren't all on broadband. And as such, MMOs weren't very action-based. As basic, simplistic, clunky, and kind of bad as the action was, it was more than what was being provided by most other MMOs on the market at the time. And so we played it, Lots of people played it. It had a garish, unappealing visual style. It didn't play all that well, but it was neat for what it was. It became wildly popular, incredibly successful, and it lasted for a very long while. MapleStory 2 looks at what made that game good, though, which was action combat and platforming, and goes, let's apply that to a 3D environment. They still have some, 2D side-scrolly areas, but they apply it to a 3D area. And you might say, well, that defeats the purpose, because it being a 2D side-scroller is what made MapleStory MapleStory. And indeed, that does make the first game very different from the second. But it still builds itself around an action, hoppity, platformity experience. But it's much better looking, with a much more solidified visual style that's still very cute, but actually looks like solid and coherent and cohesive and put to freaking together. And the game is still about some simple but fun action combat, but now they've managed to make the action combat feel better. They make the platforming feel better, and they apply it to a 3D environment. But then they took an interesting direction with it. They built the world entirely out of blocks in a sort of Minecraft-y sort of way. And you roll your eyes at that, but what that means is that you can then build things. Now, it doesn't go full Minecraft, perhaps, but customization is a major aspect. Arguably too major. I have spent more time making clothing in the game than I have actually playing the game, to be completely honest with you. Part of that's because I'm not a very good artist, so it takes me quite a few hours to put together a clothing texture. But that's a thing you can do. You can retexture objects and sell them in in-game shops. And you're probably going to go, that sounds like a terrible idea. And you're right, it kind of is. A lot of people have made a lot of ridiculous, offensive things, and then it gets pulled, which is kind of part of the scheme. So you got to pay a couple bucks to upload your custom textures. And when they pull them down, they say they don't have to refund you. Now, the one time my stuff got pulled down for being, not quite complying with their rules, wasn't particularly offensive. It was in sort of a gray area. I was unaware that I could not make those clothes. They did refund me on them. And I applaud them for doing that, and refunded the people who bought them from me, I believe. So I'm like, that's good. That's good. I'm glad you did that, because it would have been a real jerk move to not refund me because I didn't know what was going on. But if people just keep uploading offensive stuff to their servers, they could just take the money if they want to, and that could be part of their monetization scheme. It's also brilliant because it means that they actually have a cash shop full of items they didn't have to even make. There are hundreds of cash shop items, and they didn't have to lift a single finger to make them. Oh, good. Good, it's this time. I hear people on the internet can still hear me. It's always fun when this happens. Beep. Good times. Good freaking times.
This is the required monthly test of the emergency alert system. This station serves the bi-state St. Louis operational area.
It sure does. Bam. 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 Yay! Tests. So as I was saying, that means that they have, before I was so rudely interrupted, that means that they have a cash shop full of hundreds of items that they didn't have to lift a finger to make. It's actually quite a brilliant scheme, but at the same time, it's also brilliant because it means I can make whatever items I want to, practically, and I might maybe have spent an excessive amount of time doing exactly that. And one thing I really got to applaud MapleStory 2 on, controller support right out of the box. Like, no issues, no problems. You plug in a controller, it goes, hey, I detected the controller. Would you like to turn on controller support? It is incredibly well handled, just works instantaneously. And that makes me very, very happy because, as you could tell, I'm a gamepad-centric person. It just said, hey, I see a PlayStation 4 controller is plugged in. Would you like to use it? And then it does. And it even accommodates for the fact that my connection's a little wiggly and it keeps disconnecting and reconnecting. And I have not had issues with that. So I'm very impressed with MapleStory 2 on that level. Having said that, this game took 3 freaking years to get a US release. Nexon has quite a track record of pissing off their fans. And to be honest, there are some issues I have with the game. First of all, it needs to be said, just like the original, ranged combat is so much more fun than melee combat. Melee combat's not as bad as it was in the previous game, but in this game, yeah, no, like, I've tried to play melee classes, and they're just not fun. The other night, I finally tried out the Rune Blader, which is supposed to be a melee ranged mix. I'm like, I see some potential here, but compared to the Assassin, I don't know. At least they have better skill variety because they're melee ranged hybrid. Because the Assassin, I have to say, they have some issues. But one thing I like, they usually give you at least 3 skills right at the start. So you have moves you can use, and they are highly spammable. Your MP refills so fast that using a mana potion is completely pointless. So the combat is very fun and actiony. As you're throwing skills around and using your attacks, that's really fun. Problem, I don't understand the purpose of most of my skills. Playing the Assassin, they throw shurikens. Good times for all. The skills I start with is one move where I throw a shuriken and it bounces between a bunch of enemies like chain lightning style. Okay, cool. I have another move where I throw out a giant shuriken that flies out and comes back. Got good area low. Kind of small range, good area of effect. You know, it goes out, goes back, looks big, looks like it would hurt. And then I have another one called Shatterstar, where I throw out a shuriken, and then it explodes into a bunch of spikes that hit at an area of effect. Good range, good AoE. Here's where things get stupid. It does significantly more damage than all my other skills. All of my skills are, I throw out a shuriken, and it hits enemies in a certain range. Except that the range of the attack and the radius of the attack and the damage it does is so much better for Shatterstar than anything else that literally all my other skills are pointless. And it drives me nuts. The big shuriken, which has less range and is a bit slower but is huge, That's the one that should be doing the big damage, but it's not. It's the starting skill Shatterstar, which does not exponentially, but does like over twice as much damage. I'm going to say 250% damage compared to every other skill I have. It has more range. It has a bigger AoE radius. It is a superior skill. I don't know why I would do anything else other than spam this skill and dodge attacks. And that's what I've been doing. And after that starting skill chunk, you get skills kind of slowly in the game. And for the assassin, it's been kind of lame because they've all just been buffs. Like really basic, kind of unappealing buff. Ooh, I can do critical hits better for a while, which I hear becomes a really good skill, but, I'm just fighting mooks. Running around, here comes a swarm of enemies. Oh, I wonder if I'm going to just spam Shatterstar at them. And I've talked to some people who are at endgame, and they're like, yeah, that's kind of how it is. A lot of the endgame builds just focus on one skill and spamming it. And I'm like, that's a big problem. The skills should each have their own strengths and weaknesses. There should be one skill that's really good for hitting bosses, but, is closer range. There should be one skill that's super long range. One skill that's great for AoE. It seems like it should be obvious, but instead it's like, hey, as an assassin, I have 3 different skills that essentially do the same thing, except one is literally superior to all the others in every conceivable way, and I don't know why I would use that. And I admit, my progress through the main storyline has been kind of slow because it's gotten significantly less interesting. And some of it felt really padded. Early on, you, deal with this gang leader, this mob boss, and he sicks this one underling after you, and you beat his underling, and he tells you, go here, talk to these people, do this thing. You come back, and he sicks his underling on you again. And then you go out, talk to these people, do this thing, and then he sicks his underling on you again. So I'm sitting there I don't know. It's getting a little shaky. I like it because of the customization aspects, but I don't like it because of that. Also, when you buy new hair, you don't get to keep it. It just replaces your old hair. There's no way to, keep a stash of different hairstyles like you can in Dungeon Fighter, which definitely annoys me because it's this outfit that I made goes better with the blue hair, but this one goes better with the red hair, and I'd like to switch to this hairstyle, but every time I want to switch hairstyles, I have to buy the hair again. Not a fan of that. Having said that, I hear they have removed a lot of pay-to-win elements from the Western release of the game. Very nice. But even still, I'm a little on the fence. I don't know if I like this game or don't like this game. Again, love the controller support. Actually feels really good to play. The most fun I have is just going out into the wilderness and fighting random mobs and spamming Shatterstar at them. But as I've realized that I don't know if I'm ever going to get a skill better than Shatterstar, it's kind of dampening my fun, because it's I really have no purpose for all my other skills. Just spam Shatterstar. So, little on the fence on that one. Not a bad game, but not sure if it's the greatest. Little iffy. Little iffy. Meanwhile, my actual MMO of choice, which is, of course, Dungeon Fighter Online, which has made a wonderful return after Nexon axed it. We're talking about how Nexon pisses people off. They are implementing a thing called the jumping server, which allows you to get a character from level 1 to level 90 in one day. So that way you can instantly gain access to endgame content. Very interesting. Very interesting choice. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know which class I'm going to bring to the endgame. But I'm kind of excited about it because even though it doesn't take that long to get to endgame in Dungeon Fighter, at the same time it's I kind of like to experience it now. So you get to bring 2 characters instantly to endgame, and you can transfer them back to your main servers by doing the jumping server thing. So I'm trying to decide what classes I want to bring to endgame, and yeah, I'm a little interested in that. I would like to see what the end game of an MMO is like. In case you can't tell, I have a kind of short attention span. I've never fully devoted myself to any MMO except Phantasy Star Online. So I don't usually see the end game. and I love Dungeon Fighter, but I've never made it to max level before. So I would like to see what that's like and see if it's good or bad, because I think it might maybe be a bit on the iffy side. Let you know how that turns out. Either way, thank you so much for joining us on today's GameBabble Live. Hope you've enjoyed. Yeah, it's been a blast. I'll try to get this up onto YouTube as fast as I can. Well, maybe not quite as fast as I can, but in the next day or two, you should see this episode go up. Again, we have an archive on YouTube that you can listen to either there or download the MP3 files off of our Google Drive. Good times being had. Thank you so much for joining us. And I hope to see you again next week on GameBabble Live every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. here on 89.5 FM, KCFE The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. Coming up next, it's Hurt People by 2 Feet featuring Madison Love here on 89.5 FM, KCFE The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening. See you next week.